Hello and welcome to another episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. My name is Tiago, your host, and this is the podcast about what's really like to bootstrap a company. And before we kick things off, let me just give a huge shout out to the new members of our community. And to become a member, you basically become a supporter of this podcast, and you pay €4 per month, and you get access to our virtual co-working space for bootstrappers. It's a place with a lot of bootstrappers, a lot of entrepreneurs from all backgrounds, and we are all together building our projects, and it's really amazing. And I will give you more updates in this episode. But let's start with give a shout out to the new members then. And let's start with Mark Philippa. Welcome to the family. Mark is also a software developer, and he has been working in a lot of side projects. And I'm really happy that you decided now to be part of our Wannabe Entrepreneur space. And I hope that you'll find all the support and mentorship you need to find success in your next projects. And the next member is Sam Cox. Sam is actually an engineer more in the construction area. Is a mechanical and electrical service engineer, but he's also a scout leader, and he has such a cool project. The name is stayready.uk, and it's basically a daily survey or a daily question about first aid. So you can subscribe to his service and you get a question that will allow you either to get more information about the topic or just to keep your knowledge about first aid in the top of your head, so that when it's needed you know how to use it. So really nice, and he's trying to revamp this product and make it completely free for everyone. So I will definitely follow his project, and I'm super excited also that you decided to join us. And the next member is Philip. Philip has been a listener of the podcast for already some time, and we have exchanged some emails, and I'm super happy that you decided to join now, Philip. Philip has actually a similar product or a similar project to Sam, and is called learnclick.com, and it's a project that has been quite successful so far, that basically allows you to create surveys and quizzes. So as a teacher you can create this and then you can share with your students, and I've tried it out, super cool, and I am super excited to see what you are going to do with it next. And last but not least, let me introduce you to Sahil. Sahil quit his job actually recently to focus in becoming an indie maker, and I am super excited that you decided to join our co-working space and share your journey with us. And I'm sure that everyone here will be able to support you to reach your goals. And those are the 4 new members of this week. Super excited that we are getting more and more members every week. And if you want to become a member and if you want to join our virtual co-working space, it's very simple. There's a link in the description. You just go there, you click, and you'll see all the perks you can get. You basically pay €4 per month, and you get access to this amazing community, to our virtual office. We're doing a lot of interesting stuff here, and the community is really active. And I'm super happy to be part of it, and you can too. So if you have any questions, you can also shoot me a message on Twitter, and I'll be happy to answer. And without further ado, let's start today's episodes. Do you know this game, billiard or pool? Basically, the game where you have a table, you have a bunch of balls, and your goal is to pocket your balls before your opponent. And I've always been quite terrible at it, but the cool thing is that most people are also terrible at it. So it's one of those games where it's very simple to initially start playing it, but then it's quite hard to become actually good at it. And one day I was playing against my uncle, and I was actually beating him. And I just needed to pocket the black ball. Very simple shot, very clear shot. I just had to pocket it and win. And what it did completely shook me out of my game. He put his stick down and said, "Okay, you just won," and walked away off the table. It got me super nervous because I felt the pressure. I knew that I got it, but just the fact that he said, "Okay, you won," and was walking away made me super nervous. Because I don't know, I guess there was just too much pressure and I failed. Then he came back to the table smiling and beat me. And this is really interesting because it's something that it affects me quite a lot because I start feeling the pressure. I start feeling, okay, I cannot fail now. I've reached this far. I cannot fail now. And it's something I don't know. I don't know why this happens to me. Probably some psychologists would be able to analyze this, but I'm able to get every time my projects to a certain level. But then when things get real, I get super nervous because I'm just afraid to screw things up. And if you remember one of the early episodes, I think it's called "This Podcast is Giving Me Weird Dreams." And I was already feeling this. I started this podcast and immediately got more success than what I was expecting. And when I say more success, it's not something crazy, right? I was getting maybe 20, 30 people per episode. But remember that I was releasing every day. So just the fact that I had people every day listening to me got me super excited. And I started getting nervous because I thought that I couldn't screw things up, that the next episode, the next content should be better than the previous one. So I was actually dreaming about it. I couldn't sleep. I was only very nervous thinking about what should my next episode be about. Then what happened was that basically the views stagnated. So I don't think in this case that this pressure actually affected me that much, besides of course dreaming about it. But now the same thing is happening with our community. So this is a very interesting case study. In the beginning, I always thought that this community, this Slack channel that I started, was a perk of becoming a member of Wannabe Entrepreneur. So people would mostly join to support the podcast, and as a perk, as a side gift, they would have access to this Slack channel. And quite recently, I thought that maybe I should change things. I mean, the Slack channel itself has a lot of value and can become a product of its own. So that's kind of what I did. I basically revamped and rebranded this Slack channel and called it a virtual co-working space for bootstrappers. And I've been evolving and developing this channel to actually become a virtual co-working space, whatever that means, because it's kind of a new concept. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And immediately I started going on Twitter and DMing people. So I found a lot of bootstrappers on Twitter. Some of them were already followers of the show, of my account. And I messaged them and say, hey, do you want to join this bootstrapping virtual co-working space? I created a landing page that I shared with them. And I asked them also for feedback on this landing page. What can I change? And they were immediately telling me, maybe you should give some testimonials. Maybe you should say what channels people can join. And I did that, and suddenly I got people joining, people that were actually excited to join this space. And I started getting super excited because just to give you an idea, when I started this podcast, I got 3 members right away. Right out of the bat, I got 3 members and I got quite excited. And then, as I told you, everything stagnated. And for months, I didn't get any new member. But now, for the past 2 weeks, since I started advertising this virtual co-working space as its own product, I got, I think, 9 new members. So it has been growing. And of course, it makes me super excited. It's still very far from actually making a salary. But it's nice, and I'm very excited also about the product that we are making. And for the first time last week, we got our first virtual gathering. Basically, I open up a Google Meet room, we all join, and it was amazing. It was so interesting. People are so into the community, into helping each other, into bootstrapping. And I felt so inspired. We talked for hours. And I really love that. And one thing that I also really enjoyed is the fact that we have people from all over the world. So in the same meeting room, there was people that it was morning for them. It was like 9 a.m. Then there was people that was like 3 p.m. And then there was people that was 11 p.m. All across the world, everyone together to just speak about their passion, speak about their projects. And the community has been quite active. Much more active than Change It community. As you know, I have a climate change app, and I build also, or try to build a community for Change It. And it has more or less the same number of members, 30, 35, but it's completely dead. But this one, the wannabe entrepreneur community, is super active, and people are always coming, and they are helping each other, they are connecting with each other, and there's kind of a life of its own. And it's really beautiful to see. But of course, what is happening? Can you guess? Of course, I'm getting nervous. I'm starting to think, okay, things are actually taking off. I cannot screw this up. And I start thinking, okay, what's going to happen if I get to 100 members? How do I control this? Should I have some rules? Should I start kicking people that spam? I don't know. It's getting me nervous, and I'm afraid to screw things up for the actual members, for the people that are already with us, because I want everyone to take as much value from this community as possible. So I started thinking, okay, if this community gets too spammy or there's too much people, it's going to be really hard for everyone to get the same amount of value. So I'm already having sleepless nights, or at least having weird dreams about it, and I don't know what I should do. The cool thing is, since I'm part of this community, I can also ask for help and ask for support. And the first feature I'm actually building is a virtual office. And this is kind of a crazy idea, but the idea is that people can actually work while in a meeting room. So there'll be 2 meeting rooms, one for a break, a kind of a coffee break meeting room, and another one for work. And the idea is, if you want to work and if you are working remotely and you still want to have this office vibe, you can just join the virtual work room, and everyone is there also working, and then you can have the occasional chat, or maybe kickstart another small room if you want to work with someone else in a certain project or you need help. And you can also just go to the break room and just have a coffee and chat with other bootstrappers. So I'm really excited to see if this works, and I've been trying to develop some kind of solution. I will share the thread where I'm working at it and basically sharing all my advances. But just not to get too much into detail, but what I'm doing is I'm using Jitsi, which is an open source virtual conferencing tool, and they have a super cool API that you can just embed the conference in your website. So basically that's what I'm doing. I'm embedding that conference in the Wannabe Entrepreneur website, and you will have to log in with Slack. Once you log in with Slack, you have access also to this room, and there will be a close integration between Slack and this room. So if people join, they will be notified in Slack, so that people can always know who is in the channel, who is actually working. And because what I'm afraid is that people will be just alone in those rooms, and it's just not fun like that. So that's basically what I'm doing for the community, and it's being a lot of fun and a little bit of nerve-wracking too. And in the same time, I'm still going on Twitter, and I'm still trying to recruit new members, quote unquote. And it's been quite simple to get those. I mean, of course, a lot of people say that they don't have time, they don't want to invest the money, but a lot of them say, yes, I'm excited to join. So it's been quite cool. And that's basically the update for the community. And if we still continue in this topic of the podcast, I also want to say that last week I released a really important interview, which was the interview with Arvid. And it's really important, not only because Arvid is a great bootstrapper, but to be honest, I also think that a lot of the other interviews I did are really, really valuable, and you should listen to them because I've learned so much from them. But what is great about Arvid is that he has a huge followership on Twitter. I think now it's 30k followers. And of course that this has a huge effect, because every time I share something about this conversation, so basically what I did was I split our conversation into small teasers, small chunks, or audiograms, if you will, and I share them on Twitter, and Arvid actually retweets them. So this means that every tweet has 400 views or 300 views and a lot of likes. So it's really, really great to get some attention. This has been the best weekend for me so far in terms of views. And when I say this, it's not crazy, but like every day I'm having like 30, 40, 50 listens, even though I didn't release any episode, right? So that's really great for me. And one thing that is still interesting though is that when I check the metrics on Red Circle, it's not that crazy. So like the so far I had, I think 80 listens on that interview, and other interviews have gotten more listens than that. So it's interesting that even though I'm getting so much attention on Twitter, the conversion rate is still not that much. But yeah, that's basically it for the wannabe entrepreneur. Regarding Change It, unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time to work in the app this week. I still started developing some new features or improving rather some older features, and I've also been more active on Twitter. And my goal is also now to basically schedule a bunch of calls with people that are activists and that are in the sustainability area, because I just want to speak with them and to see where Change It can help, and if they like the concept or if I have to maybe pivot a little bit. And actually on Thursday I already have my first meeting scheduled with Tim Riddle, and he is the founder of Planet Groups. He's also an activist, but Planet Groups is actually a super cool company that basically helps companies becoming more sustainable by organizing the employees. So basically, it helps the employees to organize events within the company, and their mission is to empower and inspire individuals to take up agency and responsibility in their own workplace to build truly sustainable, successful, and value creating companies. So I'm super excited to speak with him. And one thing that I've noticed from this journey in wannabe entrepreneur is that I'm actually learning a lot. And I don't even notice because it's so much fun. But like with every interview I do, I learn from the other person. And I can see that there's a lot of concepts that now I have in my mind that I didn't have 6 months ago when I started. But I kind of do not notice because I love to doing this. And I think conversation and speaking with people that are also from your spectrum and from your area are super important because you learn a lot from them. So I would really encourage you to do the same in whatever is your community, whatever is your product, what are you doing. Just go out there and speak with people. People are super open for this. It's crazy. I just basically what I do is like I say, hey, I'm Tiago. I'm the founder of Change It, climate change app. I love your project. Do you have 20 minutes for a chat just for us to network and to get to know each other? And they normally say yes. So I think it's always a great idea. And that's basically what I've been working in Change It. Unfortunately, there's not too much more. But I want to take the time to speak a little bit about rapid climate change and about the COP26 that just finished. And if you are a follower on Twitter, you already knew that I would speak about this topic in this episode. I'm really sorry that it's not super connected with bootstrapping, but I think maybe it is. I think it's up to everyone, especially entrepreneurs and bootstrappers, to come up with solutions against this fight against climate change. And I think that it's really important for everyone to know. So let's get started. And I want to speak about what is COP. COP stands for Conference of the Parties, and it's basically a conference where world leaders get together to come up with strategies to give humanity a fighting chance against rapid climate change. And what is rapid climate change, you ask? Climate change always happens. It's basically the change of the average temperature of planet Earth. But for the first time, this temperature is changing much, much faster than before, and is now connected to humankind. It's proof. Every scientist agrees that this is happening because of our emission of greenhouse gases. CO2 and all this methane and all of these nasty gases that humans produce to live are actually affecting the average climate of the planet. And so far, our temperatures, the average temperature, has already raised by 1.1 degrees. So since we started polluting, that our temperature of the planet has already increased by 1.1 degrees. And I know that at first glance it doesn't seem that much, but you have to think about that this is an average. So it means that there are certain areas in the globe where the temperature has already increased a lot. And we know this because this summer we had huge heat waves in a lot of countries that resulted in catastrophes like wildfires. And for instance, in Germany, there was a huge problem, and China too, right? A huge problem with floods where people actually died. There's people dying also in the developed countries, not to mention, of course, the countries that are not so much developed, that this is happening for much longer time, but unfortunately people don't care so much. And I have to say that these catastrophes are actually not what scares me the most. What scares me the most is how will humans react to them. So when one entire area or city is flooded and people have to migrate, will we accept them easily? Probably not, right? I mean, you know what's happening, for instance, in Syria, and a lot of people just don't want migrants coming or don't want refugees coming to their countries. What happens when there's no water and people will have to fight for it? What happens when there's no food? I mean, everything is intertwined, everything is connected, and there will be wars, and basically life will be really uncomfortable. And that's what scares me the most, actually. Of course, that I don't want the biodiversity to disappear. I don't want the planet to die. It makes me really sad. But I think that won't affect humans that much. But the way humans will react to these changes, this is what scares me the most, actually. And this is only happening with 1.1 degrees, right? So what the experts say is that if it increases more than 1.5, we cannot revert it. It will be a snowball and the temperature will just increase and increase. And that's why everyone really wants to control the emissions. And that's why COP26 was an amazing COP, and everyone has a concrete plan on how we are going to avoid emissions, right? Wrong. That's exactly what not happened. Because if we read the agreement, what came up out of COP26 are again empty promises. There's no plan. There's nothing like this. It's basically promise to reduce the fossil fuel consumption. And we were basically celebrating the fact that for the first time in the agreement, we say that we are going to reduce coal. Can you imagine? For the first time. I mean, up until now, no one ever spoke about coal. And we are now celebrating this. So there's something that for me doesn't add up. You know, the science is clear. Now it seems that I'm speaking like Greta, but it's true. Like, the science is clear about this. And this is a world catastrophe that is about to happen, and it's already happening. We just had a terrible year with COVID-19, catastrophes, heat waves, and out of the COP26, there's nothing. And this really makes me sad. I'm very disappointed in my leaders, in our leaders, and in ourselves, because it's also up to us to keep them accountable. It's up to us to say something about it. And it's up to us, entrepreneurs and bootstrappers, to start coming up with solutions that are sustainable and that will help against this rapid climate change fight. So I encourage everyone to inform themselves. Just learn more about the topic. Learn more about your own impact in climate change, the impact of your country, the impact of your actions, and learn how can you help. Because I have to tell you, climate change is the future and there's no way around it. So there's also a lot of products, there's also a lot of things, a lot of technology that you can do now that will have a lot of success and companies will definitely love. So I think that it's really something that everyone should think about. I'm really sorry if this segment of the podcast is a little bit too sad, but it's just really important. And if you want to learn more about climate change, now it's a bit weird to advertise Change It here, but that's basically why I created. The reason why I created Change It is somehow to give my help against this problem, to give my small contribution against climate change, And the goal of change is it's just to educate and make sustainability accessible to everyone. So if you want to know more, one way could be definitely to install the app. And I'm sorry that I don't mean to sponsor. You can install it or not. I don't want to use this as a way to sponsor. I'm just saying that's why I created the app. Yeah, and that's basically the segment of my project updates. And now I just want to speak a little bit about the lifestyle of an entrepreneur. And this time it's a positive thing. It's actually quite good because last week, as you know, I was feeling a bit down, but this week I was feeling really really happy because I also had some friends here. It was really nice to be able to be with them. And on Friday, I just took the day off to go sailing, and this is amazing. And this is really a great perk of being your own boss, is the fact that you can basically control your schedules. And since I couldn't book the boat for Saturday, I'm flexible enough to just book it on Friday, and I have a lovely day with my friends sailing. It was sunny day, really warm, and I it's so great, and I felt really nice. I felt really energized. So, two things that I want to take from here. First of all, it's there are great perks of being your own boss, especially with the fact that you can control your own schedules, and that it's really important also to sometimes take time for yourself and to do things you enjoy, because in the end your mental health is very very important. You, especially if you're a solopreneur, you are the key element of your business. It's not your clients, it's not your product, it's you. Without you the business wouldn't exist. So take some time to take care of yourself, and that's something that I've done last week, and I hopefully will continue doing. And I really need to also start doing more exercise. This is something that I really should start doing. And this was a quick lifestyle of an entrepreneur segment. And now let's go to the last segment of this episode, which are tips and tricks and tools for bootstrappers. And this week, I learned about so many great tools, a lot of them from the community, because some of our members are actually no coders. I don't know if this is a term, but they have different backgrounds, design, marketing, and we learned about some cool tools. And I think one cool tool that I learned about is automation tools, and one is called Zapier. Is it Zapier? Zapier? I don't know. You spell it Zapier.com. And again, I will link everything in the description so that you can just go there and check it out. But it's super cool. You basically can connect apps together. So if I search for Twitter, they already give me a lot of recommendation workflows. For example, they give Instagram plus Twitter, which allows you to share Instagram photos to Twitter automatically. Or they give you Twitter and Slack. Share new Twitter mentions in Slack. So you can have 1,000 integrations, and it's really good for your business. I know, for instance, that one of the members of our community, Max, is using this kind of tools. There's other tools, not only Zapier, but for instance, you also have automate.io, and he's using this to basically do user research for his new project. And what this does is it searches for Twitter members or Twitch members based on their profile and adds them to a list. Can also add them to your, let's say, Google Sheet list, or can add to a Twitter list. So you can use it for marketing, you can use it for market research, you can use it for actually 1,000 things. And there's a lot of integrations, and I think you should definitely check it out. I will try to use it to automate a Slack message. So every time someone joins the Slack channel, I want to send them a message saying to introduce themselves in the introduction channel. So that's what I'll be using Zapier for. Another thing that I also wanted to use Zapier for, I tried to do it, but I didn't quite figure out if it's possible or not, is to send a DM on Twitter every time someone follows me, basically introducing myself and asking more about them. So I'm not sure if that's possible to just do it out of the bat with Zapier, or if I need to do a little bit of coding, but it's also super interesting. And there's thousands of things you can do with this automation tool. So Zapier is one of them. Automate.io is another. I will link both in the description, and I really think you should check this out because, as Peter Level says, the future are robots. Most of his businesses, like Nomadlist, they are fully automated, and he has bots to do everything so that he doesn't have to hire and doesn't have to depend on other people. And I totally agree. I think whatever you can automate, not everything, you cannot automate everything. There's certain things that you really need humans, but whatever you can automate, you should do it, because first of all, you don't want to waste your own time doing manual repetitive actions, and second, to be scalable and for you to be able to sell, for instance, on a Friday, you need to have your robots doing work for you. So make sure to check out these tools. I think they are really worth it. And that concludes today's episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. I hope you enjoyed this one. Last freestyle episode got so far about 50 listens, so it's not actually an increase from the previous one. So let's try to make this one 100. Let's try to get 100 listens in this episode, and to do so, I will really need your help. Make sure to share this podcast with your entrepreneur and bootstrapper friends. This would mean the world to me. And give it a good review on your podcast app, being that Pocket Casts or Apple or wherever you listen. If you have the possibility to give a good review, this would really mean the world to me and really help this podcast grow. And last but not least, why not becoming a member or buying me a coffee? I don't do ads. I really, really want to avoid that. So it's up to you, the listeners, to make sure that this podcast can continue to exist. So you can just buy a coffee, or if you also want to join our bootstrapping community, our virtual co-working space, you can become a member. The price is €4 per month, and you are not only supporting this podcast, but you are also part of this amazing group of bootstrappers and entrepreneurs. So think about it. I'll be waiting for you there. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you tomorrow.